someone who's wanting to invest with me, they were asking me, so what are the admin costs do we have? And I was like, what do you mean? If I'm giving
Yeah,
you 15%, it's 15% flat, no hidden costs.
yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah. But I think the lesson to this short conversation here is that where your money is right now, I think it's just important for you to go in and double check whether it is 100,000, whether it's 5 million, whether it's whatever amount. Go in and double check what the bank is saying that they are offering, interrogate a little bit, make sure that from an inflation perspective, are you really investing? That's the question here. But today, we want to be talking about what we always talk about, and this is property and tax, or tax and property. It doesn't really matter. It all means the same thing in our world. And what gives us the right to actually talk about it? Boom! Welcome back. It is ITJ, Taurai Jack, your boy. And we're talking about tax again. And in the house, my co-host, resident tax specialist, Lebogang. How's it going, Lebo?
I'm all good. How are you, TJ?
Good, man. Good, man. You had a good week?
I had a fantastic one. It was been one hell of a week, but a productive one. Yeah, so I'm happy that I had it. So yeah,
I'm feeling smashed, man. I'm feeling like I need to take a rest, a bit of a rest, some form of
yeah, of course.
something like that.
Yeah, after the week that I had, I also at least need another full day to myself, just to rest.
Should we find some spa vouchers for you, some cucumber on your eyes and things like that?
That would be great. That would be awesome.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Lebo, you got some deals that you're working on. Is there some stuff that you're working on that came in this week? Maybe one or two deals.
Well, this week I haven't started anything new. It's just been preparation to start with the developments that have had in the pipelines, and just to raise more funds for my other projects that I have also on the pipeline. So that's just what I've been doing. Just getting projects to be ready, so that we can break grounds. So that's what yeah.
Good stuff. So I've heard in the grapevine, actually not in the grapevine though, this is factual. I mean, lockdown, not most of the commercial banks are lending on the commercial side, that is.
Yes, true.
Yeah, so it's pretty tough times for us guys who are wanting more money from the banks, but it also creates another opportunity where people who've got cash, they can directly invest, because right now the money is, their returns at the bank is next to nothing.
Yeah, true. So the banks are holding back on giving us more money.
Yeah.
But that creates an opportunity for those who are sitting with cash on their accounts to say, look, guys, let's do something and put our money together. I mean, money that is sitting on the bank it's actually useless. I mean, it's losing value than it gaining any value. If say for instance, and just to highlight, if the bank is giving you an interest rate of about 11%, but that is 11% minus fees, so you're sitting at a net interest rate of about 3 to 4%, of which is less than inflation rate. But that's a topic for another day. So that your money is losing value.
The good thing about you, Lebo, is that you're saying 11%, and I'm like thinking, which bank is giving you 11%? They're all down to around about a single digit, right? Like 5, 6, somewhere there. But again,
but remember when they're selling the package to you, they'll say that we're giving you 11% on depending on how much you're investing with them. Because I mean, it's all dependent on the amount of money that you're giving them.
Yeah.
So they'll have different brackets to how much they're giving you or they're lending you. So the bigger the amount, the bigger the percentage they promise you, but that is at gross, not at net. So they give you 11%, but it's sitting at gross, and then you minus costs, your admin, your fund management fees, your, all these costs, that hidden costs that they don't really talk about upfront. So if you subtract all those costs, you're sitting at a net interest of about 3 to 4%. And I mean, if inflation is sitting at between 6 to 7%, then that means your money is losing value between 3 to 4% as well. So
someone who's wanting to invest with me, they were asking me, so what are the admin costs do we have? And I was like, what do you mean? If I'm giving 15%, it's 15% flat, no hidden costs.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But I think the lesson to this short conversation here is that where your money is right now, I think it's just important for you to go in and double check whether it is 100,000, whether it's 5 million, whether it's whatever amount. Go in and double check what the bank is saying that they are offering, interrogate a little bit, make sure that from an inflation perspective, are you really investing? That's the question here. But today, we want to be talking about what we always talk about, and this is property and tax, or tax and property. It doesn't really matter. It all means the same thing in our world. And what gives us the right to actually talk about it? Well, I'm a property investor. I run the company M5 Property Addicts. Boom. And Lebo, you wear multiple heads, bruh. So that you can tell us what gives you the right to talk about tax.
Well, I am, first and foremost, I'm a property investor myself, more on the development side of things. And I invest quite a lot in properties and property developments. And another thing that gives me the right to talk about taxes, it's because I hold an honors degree in taxation. I mean, I have my qualification in finance, and I am a business accountant by profession as well. So that gives me the depth of the knowledge of taxations and property tax as a whole, because I'm actively playing in this space. So what I'm talking about, I'm also applying it in my own business, which is I'm a CEO of a biz house. It's a property investment and a development company. That's what gives me the right to be able to talk about taxes.
Awesome stuff. Lebo, today we wanted to talk about the benefits that comes from tax. Tax is not all bad. I think we are just kind of like conditioned that, when your phone ringing and it says SARS, you're like, oh, what happened?
What did I do wrong? How much do I owe?
Yeah. But there are benefits to playing in the property space, and some of these benefits, they are outright out there, well defined, and a lot of people actually go out there, they start doing property, they actually don't know. Maybe 4 or 5 years later, they've been in it, and they haven't reaped the benefit of the tax perspective. And today we said, let's just unpack a couple of taxes here, tax benefits, the general ones, and we can dive in a little bit later as we go on in the other videos to come through. So stay tuned. If you've never subscribed, this is the time that you need to subscribe, because this information here is going to give you some money. What money do we call this, Lebo, that comes from the tax? Is it still hard cash? Like, how do we quantify this money?
It's tax benefits, it's tax rebates, it's tax deductions. So these are some of the benefits that you get from your property tax. So you have what you call your allowed expenses, permissible expenses that you don't get in your salary. that you get to get when you you know, paying tax. I mean, so some of the benefits is the first benefit that you get from property tax is you get to deduct all your permittable expenses before you pay your taxes to the government. Yeah, so that's the number one.
Lebo, when you're saying permittable, you know, that sounds like a Johannesburg North term, you know. So I want to bring it back to someone else, you know, a little bit like me, you know, who doesn't know much about taxes and things like that. When you're
Yeah.
saying permittable taxes, so I own a house, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
this house is an investment, right? So it's not the house that I'm staying in, but it's an investment. When you're saying it's permittable, give us an example. What is it that you're talking about?
So permittable taxes, it's those are allowed expenses that you incur in the running of your property business. Like for instance, I'll give you a few ones. You are allowed to deduct from your rental income. You are allowed to deduct rates and taxes. You are allowed to deduct the bond interest that you pay on your bond. You are allowed to deduct advertisements and collection fees and insurance premiums that you pay for the cover of your properties. You are allowed to you know, deduct your garden services that you pay to the guys that are doing your garden. You're allowed to pay for all your repairs and maintenance, security that you pay, the levies that you also pay. So you are allowed to deduct all of those. Those are your tax benefits that you are allowed, that you are permitted to deduct when you do your submissions before you know, pay your taxes on your net profits that you would have made.
So and this is what boggles me, Lebo, that if the government is upfront and saying that, hey, you can deduct garden services, it's
Yeah.
allowing you. How come as many landlords we see run-down gardens out there?
I think a lot of people they don't know. They don't know what they don't know. I mean, if you don't know what you don't know, and you don't have the relevant people to guide you. I always talk about having the relevant people on your team so
Yeah.
that they can guide you accordingly. Like for instance, in order for you to know the depth of the allowable expenses that you can use to avoid tax, not to evade tax.
Yeah.
You obviously need the guidance of a tax practitioner or a tax accountant or an accountant, a business accountant as a whole, you know.
Yeah. So after I've now deducted all of my permittable expenses, only
Yes,
then now can we now talk about the actual amount that I'm going to be hit with from a tax perspective. So
100%.
so that money now, the 28%, right now we're sitting on 28% from a company perspective.
Yes,
So
yes, yes,
now that money now, which is the remaining part,
yes.
that's where we're going to be paying tax. So it's not about my income first and then the tax is taken out and then I need to suffer on the other side.
No, 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 no. It's not like it's not treated like your normal salary or wages checks that you know, you earn, the government takes their portion first because they don't trust you. And you then remain with your net, you know, net income that you get into your bank account, and then you can suffer from that while you're paying VAT on top of it. So, but with property, then you get your income first, then the government trusts you a little bit, because you are also helping them in the mandate of accommodating people.
Right.
Then you are a partner. We spoke about being a partner last week. So you're now a partner with the government. You're working together with the government to achieve a
Yes.
common goal.
Together we can
So
do more.
yes. So you get your income first,
Yeah.
then you have your deductions. You can now suffer before you give them the change that you both are going to share. So you can pay your government your gardening fees, your maintenance, property management, and rates and taxes, bond interest, and the like. So you can subtract all of those first before you pay your taxes. And then if there's also tax brackets that comes to that. You pay up to 28%, as opposed to on your individual capacity it's up to 45%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a mind shift, right? So if you've just been accustomed and all of your entire life you've been working as an employee and 20, 30 years, whatever the case has been, and
Yes.
you've been used to money actually just being taken away and for the SARS purposes, and I'm using
Yes.
the harsh term here, taken away,
Yeah.
because I used to feel like that, when the money was going. Um, but in this case here, Lebo, now your mind needs to shift and start thinking about, hey, I can actually put in here some expenses, but what are those expenses? And because our mind is not enlightened to that kind of thinking, so we don't even think that maybe it's allowed, or maybe I should be doing it. And then we hold back on the actual services that we are going to that we are supposed to be doing for our property, so that they keep in a mint condition that it should be.
100%.
In that we get the appreciation that we are looking for, and and now we are literally losing out. Where is the system is actually built for us to be winning in the property space?
Yes, 100%. So a lot of, if you don't have the correct knowledge, if you don't know what you don't know, if you
Yeah.
don't have the right, I'll always emphasize this. If you don't have the right people on your team to guide you accordingly,
Yeah.
then you might find yourself, holding back to uh, from for instance, from maintaining your property to keep it at a standard, at a certain standard, and getting the appreciation that you need or that you should be getting in that particular property. So you end up holding back in spending that, thinking that you're spending after your net profit, not knowing that you are allowed to deduct those expenses and only pay what is left out, not the other way around. So you don't pay what you're earning, you're paying what is left out after you earning and after you having spent on those expenses. So people need to be educated in terms of what is allowed on their taxes, and they need to be educated as to which expenses are allowed and which ones are not. I mean, so there's other expenses that are not permitted, and then there's other a lot more expenses that are permitted for you to deduct before you pay your taxes and your net profit.
So, I'm a Nando's fan. Chicken is in my blood. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
if I buy Nando's for my gardener,
yeah.
is that part of gardening services?
No, 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 no. No, that's not part of your gardening services.
No, that's now outside of that. Okay.
Yes, so you are not permitted to deduct that. I mean, that's now you now funding your gardeners,
That's
entertainment.
Sure.
lifestyle.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
Lebo, this is permitted expenses.
Yes.
Who do I need to check in with? You know, you speak of the team, but can my bookkeeper tell me this? I mean, in my team, in terms of, I've got that one property or maybe that one building, and I'm not already reaping this benefits here, and
Yeah.
but I've got an accountant maybe, but they've never even spoken about this conversation. Um, how best do you start such a conversation? It's the who and how.
All right. Your best person to look into for these kind of things, especially the advice. It's obviously your tax practitioner because they specialize in taxes, so they know that the tax law is actually changing quite frequent, more than most of the laws in this country.
Really?
So yes, so it's constantly changing. So you need someone that specializes in taxes as a whole,
Right.
and even better if you can get someone that specializes in property taxes. And so they will be in a better position to guide you in terms of um, what's permissible and what's not, and how to structure your taxes in terms of your company structure. So they'll guide you accordingly to say, look, okay, here's what you can do,
Yeah.
and these are what are permitted, and these are what are not, well, the expenses that are not permitted. So when we do our submissions, so we look at your income minus these expenses. So that means you should not hold back in maintaining your property. You should not hold back in freeing your time, instead of you being the one that now goes and do the gardening, but you don't pay yourself a gardening fee. Then rather hire gardening services, then you obviously will get an invoice that you can attach in terms of your source documents when you're submitting your returns to SARS.
Hey, that's you've just hit another nerve there now, right? So if I want property and down the road there's a guy with a lawnmower and he comes in and he does my lawn and
Yeah,
I'm keeping my costs low. I am putting in employment in my local area.
yeah,
Um, so that automatically by just doing that, that guy can't give me an invoice, right?
right. And
Um,
then I
it,
think to answer that before you continue, I think it'll be, so your bookkeeper should know this. Then you should create a, because you're going to pay that guy cash, right?
100%.
Instead of through
In
the
most
bank account.
cases, if it's not an e-wallet.
Yes. So normally, if it's an e-wallet, obviously you put it as a a gardening services. Then you can, it's still under your bank statement record.
Right,
But if you're paying that guy cash, then your bookkeeper should keep a petty cash record.
right,
So if you withdraw 1,000 rand from the company's bank account, you must account for every cent to say what have you used the 1,000 rand for. So
yeah.
if you used it to buy yourself a Nando's, then that is should be added into your profits, not not into the company's expenses.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that's pretty clear, Lebo. I think there the message is a little bit clearly in terms of that. Um, there are expenses that are allowed, which is great.
Yes. So especially even your entertainment expenses. I mean, to a certain degree, SARS does allow that, but you must talk to your tax practitioner with this, because there's you can't just enter any, like for instance, if you're having a meeting with a client
Right,
uh, and then you pay for that meal, that should count as a company's expense, because you are on company's time, and you are probably you are meeting with an investor that in order for you to meet, maybe you meet at a restaurant, and you need to pay for that meal. I mean, you are trying to generate sales for the company. I mean, you're trying to win the investor so that you can have more money in order for you to do your deals. And that can also count as an expense for the company. But for clarity, just contact or liaise with your tax practitioner so that he'll guide you accordingly to say, this is how you do it and this is how you not do it. You're not supposed to do it. So you can't take your family out and put it under your company's expenses. That does not count as a company expense. But if you meet with clients and you travel to clients, those expenses are supposed to be counted as company's expenses. But in order for you to get it right, contact your tax practitioner.
Yeah. I think the idea here is not that whilst you're now with builders and you see a Nando's next door and you're like, my tax practitioner, let me call him before I just go and buy Nando's. What has worked for me in the past is that I actually just set up some time, like at the beginning of the year or whatever time it was, and
Yes.
I just asked the question, in terms of what is permittable, is there a list kind of like? And I went through that list, and
Yes.
I had a mental note of what is it that which falls within which bracket. And from a bookkeeping perspective, we started now actually umbrellaing all of those things and
Yes.
the paperwork that follows. So by the time actually you're meeting up now with your tax practitioner, however often, actually, how often should you be meeting your tax practitioner?
Well, as much as I'm a business accountant and I hold a taxation honors degree,
Yeah.
I have my monthly meetings with my tax practitioner, but in between we also have calls because I mean I'm constantly doing a lot of things. My schedule is always almost full. So I am constantly, in conversation with them to say, look, this is what I'm doing. What's your take in it, and what will be the implication that comes with it, and how does this affect my taxes? How much is it going to cost me? Because I mean, taxes are meant to cost us so that the government can run the country. So I'm constantly in talks with my accountant. But I think uh, as soon as you start your business or before you even start your business, I think you just need to book a consultation with your tax consultant or tax practitioner so that they can now look at what you want to do, and then they'll recommend as to what you need from their side. Because I mean, if you are only going to be doing one deal per year, I don't see why you should meet every month with your tax practitioner. I mean, it can be something that you do twice or three times a year, when they're doing your submissions and your tax records. But otherwise, if you are actively, in the property investment space, you need to actively seek guidance as well.
Right. I like that. So the more you're doing, the higher the engagement, the
Yes,
less that you're doing. It doesn't mean that you should not have a contact. You should
yes,
still have the contact,
yes,
but
yes.
it's just less. That's good stuff. Let's go back to talk about when you're saying rebate, what does that mean?
It means it's a tax relief, or it still is a tax benefit that comes from the government. I mean, if you are a salaried person, for instance, you get things like your relief from your medical aid credits that you pay, and you also get things like if you're paying for a retirement fund or a retirement annuity,
Yes.
that is also adds as a benefit for a salaried person. If you have and you also get your certain bracket, so depending on your bracket in terms of your tax brackets. So there's certain rebates that you get on your salary and income as well.
Yeah. So are you saying that there's, as an investor, as a property investor, by just owning properties, there are some tax rebates that also comes with that?
Yes, because I mean you're not taxed on 100% of your earnings. There's even with companies there's tax brackets. I mean if you're making anything less than 58,000 rand in a year in terms of net profit, you're
Yeah.
paying nothing on that, and then the bracket increases like that up to 28%. So, but there's different tax brackets if also for companies as well. Or if you are now an individual, you've registered your property under your individual capacity, then obviously you take as a property investor. So on your property income, it's your property income less property costs, and then on your net, it's now added onto your income bracket and it's taxed accordingly.
I see. I like
Yes.
that. So which means that, for as long as you are working as an employee, and the structure that I favor is that, if you're doing investments, always put it in a company, because I think that's a better vehicle.
Yes, yes,
Um,
that is.
yeah. So which means that now, if I'm starting off and I've got 5 properties in there, the likelihood of me paying a higher tax bracket is still very, very low, because I still have some expenses that are permittable. I can still throw them in there, and my income is not too high as well. So my tax bracket from the company perspective is also on the lower side. So which
Yes,
means that there is more money in my pocket.
yes. So you can use that money to do more deals instead of taking money to pay yourself. To increase for you. So one of the benefits of these tax benefits, let's say, for instance, if you make more money from your property portfolio, but you don't need to take that as a dividend,
Yeah.
so you can always reinvest your income into your business in order for you to grow your business, and then your tax bracket remains the same, and the company can only pay up to 28%, nothing more than that. But if you put it under your personal name, then you can pay up to 45%.
Why then do we consistently go and buy properties under our own name?
I think it always boils down to we don't know what we don't know.
You're
Stick
very
to
right.
it.
My
So
first property, I actually didn't know that there were vehicles out there. I didn't know there was a trust. I didn't know that there was a company. My estate agent said to me, "How are you buying?" And I said, "I work at the bank, so I'm going to ask at the bank." And she says, "No, no,
yeah,
no. I will go and look for the money. Just sign here, and we've got a bond originator. Yes, you work at the bank, but we'll do both of these things in parallel." So
yes,
I was never educated, and we went on to our second property again like that, and our third property again like that, and until one day I was exposed to into a training room, and I'm like, "So you can buy in a company, really?"
yes,
And this is where I want to kind of like encourage people that, it is good to go out and explore, because you don't know what you don't know.
100%. So I think education is very important when it comes to property investing. I mean, I'm constantly reading books. I One of the books that I recently also wrote. One of the books that I recently read,
Yeah.
it's the Property Mogul by TJ.
Yeah.
It's also quite an interesting and informative book that I would recommend anyone to also buy and educate themselves, because it comes with knowledge in the property space that explains it in a plain, simple language that everyone understands. I think I suffer from this too, whereby I get to a point where when I'm dishing out information, sometimes I fall in the trap of using jargons and, certain language that people don't understand. A layman doesn't understand certain terms, but in Property Mogul and other books, property books, be it Your Rich Dad Poor Dad, be it how to become a millionaire in property, they explain things in lame terms, so that an ordinary person that doesn't is not exposed to a certain profession, like for instance, the finance side of things, then they can be able to understand what it takes to become a property investor.
Nebo, I think on that note, for today, we're going to end it there. It's been awesome having you around. And ladies and gentlemen, it is it for now. But next week, we're going to catch you again, or should I say on the next video, you are going to catch us again, and we'll be discussing something different, still again in property, still again in tax, but we'll be covering a different topic. Nebo, you want to sign off?
No, it's been great, man. I think my last words would be people should always seek education, educate themselves, learn more, and then don't come with any excuses. If you lack knowledge in something, go out there and seek knowledge, educate yourself, buy books, listening to YouTube videos, follow people that are in the space, talk to the relevant people, pay for that consultation or to get that mentorship or
one day that you just touched on. Pay.
I mean, one of the things that you also touched on in that book, to say, it's a business when you going to pay for your mentorship session or for your coaching session.
Yeah.
Because if it becomes a conversation, you said if it becomes a conversation, then that means that the value that is in those and the commitment from both parties is not at 100%. Because I mean, if I'm paid to coach you, that means I must give you the relevant information that will help you. And if you've paid for my coaching sessions, that means you listen attentively and you'll take what you've learned and put it to action. But if it's just a conversation, it can just be sharing of ideas, and that's it.
100%. Lebo, it's been great. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Over and out from us. And we'll see you again on the next video. God bless and cheers. Goodbye.
Take care.